Hello, my name is Joseph Shields. My presentation is on underprepared students' performance on algebra in double-period high school mathematics program. This is for class EDP-520, fall 2016. Questions the research team asked. Do intensified algebra IA students show significant performance gained in mathematics content typically associated with introductory high school algebra courses? Do IA students show improvement in their ability to solve non-routine problems? How does IA students' performance vary across 6 different sub-strands of algebra content? The connections between success and failure in introductory algebra and other key academic outcomes is well documented. Students who are successful in introductory algebra are more likely to take advanced mathematics courses, graduate high school, and achieve academic success beyond high school. On the other hand, students who fail algebra run a greater risk of dropping out of high school and losing future opportunities for academic and economic success. Algebra as a gatekeeper course. An increased number of states now require students to pass an exit exam that tests the students on Algebra 1 and geometry. Currently, over 40 states and DC have adopted the Common Core State Standards for Mathematics CCSS-M, which requires students to complete 3 years of mathematics in order to graduate. Students' difficulty in learning algebra. Over the last 20 years, the learning and teaching of algebra has progressively become a central part of the mathematics educational research goals. Because algebra is so important in school math, researchers have extensively documented the difficulties that students have when trying to learn algebra. For example, research has shown that students misunderstand that the equal sign indicates a relationship between the quantities on both sides of the sign, but believe it only represents a one-way operator that produces a result on the right side from the input on the left. Students often do not recognize the use of interchangeable and distributive properties in their work, and do not use mathematical symbols to express relationships among quantities. Students often do not understand the use of letters as generalized numbers or as variables, and have difficulties operating the unknown. IA design principle. Due to the high failure rate in algebra on a national level, many U.S. school districts implemented the strategy of increasing the amount of instructional time in algebra for underprepared students. This manifested as a double-period course in algebra. Despite the extra time in algebra class, students often received a watered-down curriculum along with a focus on ineffective strategies for promoting remedial math skill development, such as reteaching prereqs as new skills. Students who pass the easier Algebra 1 courses are ill-prepared for success in future math courses. A research project began in 2008 to increase the success rate of these students. These students were typically 1 to 3 years behind base on middle school math achievement measures upon entering high school. The resulting program, Intensified Algebra, is a comprehensive program for students enrolled in double-period algebra classes used in 420 schools in 15 states. Algebra core and function-based approach. Students first develop fundamental concepts by working with background representations early in a unit, and then progress to more abstract, symbolic procedures later in the unit when they are built upon the established conceptual foundation. This progression is typical of a function-based approach, in which the foundation are laid prior to performing high-level functions. IA provides instructional tasks and professional support, emphasizing the enactment of a high cognitive demand task in the classroom. Architecture of support. Substantial evidence shows struggling learners experience difficulties with memory, attention, and self-regulation. Students typically demonstrate a limited range of metacognitive strategies and low motivation. Students' beliefs about their intelligence also influences their motivation to engage in academic tasks. A set of social motivational tools have been integrated into the programs based on the research regarding the students' beliefs about themselves. The method. Participants. 153 students of diverse backgrounds from 28 urban schools across the United States participated during the academic year of 2011 to 2012. For analysis purposes, the sample size was reduced to 78 students who were present during the multiple sessions of each of the two assessments. The majority of the schools located in Illinois and Texas. Most of the students were high school freshmen. Multiple choice assessments to measure the students' proficiency. Assessments consisted of 32 items intended for students who had completed Algebra 1. Two researchers constructed the test. Each proposed an initial selection and the other accepted or rejected the selection. If rejected, an alternative was suggested. This back and forth process continued until both researchers were satisfied with the test. In addition to measuring the change in students' overall performance, the researcher also wanted to investigate the extent to which specific areas within the content of Algebra 1 that showed greater change from the beginning of the course versus the end of the course. Two types of tests were given, a multiple choice test and a constructed response test. Constructed response assessment. From the table, you can see the two tasks, toy trains and patchwork quilt, specifically were intended to measure the student's skill and knowledge about linear functions. Each of the construct's response problems had several questions or prompts organized into subparts. Data collection. Students were randomly given a version of the pre-test and then given an alternative version for the post-test. For this study, data was analyzed from the students who took Form C from the pre-test and Form D from the post-test, and vice versa, including students who took the same form as both the pre- and the post-test. Results. Multiple choice assessment. The outcome suggests no difference in students' performance exists between versions for the pre-test or post-test overall or by content area. Overall, students' performance at pre-test were found to be significantly different from post-test, with students' performance considerably better on the post-test. Students averaged 31% correct on the pre-test and 44% correct on the post-test. Of the 77 students in the sample, 70% improved from the pre-test to post-test on the multiple choice test. Results. Constructed response assessment. Due to the complex nature of the constructed response test, most of the tasks were too complex to categorize into a single content area. Results showed that while the student improvement from the pre-test to the post-test on a specific task was significant, the interaction between performance per to post-test and the version was also substantial. One version was easier for the student than the other. Implications. The study provides supporting evidence regarding the potential positive impact for double-period algebra. Results in the study are from an early version of IA's development and implementation cycle and are generated from small pilot programs. The IA program shows students can make significant improvements with on-grade level mathematics. Further research is needed to address how performance of underprepared students in IA compares to similar students in classrooms where other programs or methods are being used. Research on how to support underprepared high school freshmen succeed in Algebra 1 has increased importance as state applies the Common Core State Standard for Mathematics, CCSS-M. CCSS-M makes major advances in K-12 math classes in a number of ways, one of which is including the study of linear functions and equations as essential content for 8th grade math. The downside to this is that students enter 8th grade math being underprepared instead of 9th grade math. The number of underprepared students will increase as a result of this. My thoughts. I'm not really big on Common Core because it completely changes the way that math is taught, and from what I've seen from my friends' kids and from my own nephews, the new way doesn't always make sense. It seems that Common Core teaches how to do math the longer, sometimes more complex way, instead of utilizing a quicker, simple method. This research showed that there is still flaws within Common Core, and there is still a lot of room for improvement. I can appreciate what they are trying to do better, preparing children for higher math. When reading this report, the data collection details were a little confusing when it came to explaining the number for each group of students who took the specific test for.